It's a little chilly too.
Chilly. Yeah, actually, it's cold today. First day we got.
I flipped the switch over to heat.
Yeah.
Did you? It wasn't a switch.
You don't have it set for automatic?
I do, but it heated.
Yeah.
So
it's 66 outside right now.
My house was 1 degree above where it was going to kick in, so I didn't quite get the heat.
Ooh. I woke up, and like 5 minutes later, heat kicked on.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Move the air a little bit in your house.
Yeah. Actually, I walked by the thermostat.
Yeah, that would do it. All right, so today's topic is, do you need a preamp?
Maybe.
2-channel world, most people run preamps, but...
Yeah. A few people run with headphone setups. And a few people use them with headphone setups to run their 2-channel system. So they still have it in the chain of the headphone system.
Yeah.
Depends on what you're doing, because we do see a few people that use specific amplifiers for the headphones that also have speaker taps. That used to be more popular a few years ago, it seems, and it's kind of falling out of favor, but people are still doing it. They're having the same system driving headphones and speakers.
So therefore, they should have a preamp. They would have a preamp.
Well, there you would have a preamp, yeah.
Because, I mean, most DACs now have volume controls.
Yeah.
So you could use
that, yeah.
Most people, I think in Head-Fi, most people use the DAC as the preamp.
Yeah, especially if it's like connected to a computer on your desk, because I know that's how I use mine.
Yeah.
Just use the volume on that.
Well, what's the negatives of adding a preamp in there? There's negatives for sure.
Well, you have to add another thing. I don't have the space for it in this case.
Well, that's true.
That's one thing.
Yeah, you're definitely introducing the sonic character of the preamp.
Yeah.
Into the system, and
yep.
What I found is that if a preamp may work well on a speaker system, 2-channel, it may help actually.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're driving like long interconnect runs or something like that, and preamps tend to have lower output impedance. They're better able to run long cables. You know, they do alter the sound a little bit. They introduce their own sound, which particularly I think if you're running a tube preamp, could be a good thing.
That's
actually.
right. Some people like it.
Yeah, with a lot of home stereo systems, 2-channel systems. But on a headphone system, I've typically avoided putting my preamp in the loop.
I guess the one time you would use it would be if you're running like speaker amps on headphones.
Yeah.
Then maybe you'd want to.
Yeah, you don't have a volume knob, so no option.
Yeah. Well, certainly somewhere you got to have a volume control.
Yeah. So that's
we probably should talk about what exactly a preamp is, what it does, what people use them for.
Why not? Yeah.
Right, that's pertinent for some folks.
Go for it, Jason.
All right, well, volume control, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Yep.
And changing between different sources and such.
Multiple inputs.
Yeah.
So if you got a lot of sources, turntable or DAC, you know, then instead of like changing it each time, you just
actually most DACs won't let you don't have inputs for that.
Yeah.
So you couldn't use it as a preamp. You couldn't use its volume control for other sources, which would certainly be a good reason to have a preamp.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some products do.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff out there does. You know, we reviewed the
WA33 works as a preamp.
That's right.
A few things we reviewed
do. The WA33, yeah.
And the GSX Mini also.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it has a few input, one or two.
Yeah.
It's basic, but it's more than one.
Yeah.
So you could come into it with an analog input other than its own.
Yeah.
So
for most people, I think 2 is enough.
Yeah.
But if you need to go past that, you have no option but to go to a classic 2-channel preamp.
Yeah. Because right now, like I just added a turntable, so I got a phono stage, which that's got to go somewhere.
Well, yeah.
All right. So that's got to go into the headphone app somehow. And
well, some preamps do have phono stages built in too, so that's a potential thing.
That's true, and you can avoid having it. But usually you can have better sound with an external.
Yeah, I'm just saying for convenience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're not going critical on the damn turntable. Yeah, but yeah, it's confusing actually when you think about it because it just depends on your situation. Some people require 3-4 inputs.
Yeah.
You know, I know if I wanted to switch between sources, I kind of manually pull the cables out and do it, which is okay.
Yeah, you're used to it.
You know, I think I'd rather do that though than add a preamp into the loop and introduce its sound character into the loop.
Yeah.
You know, headphones are definitely pickier on that. My 2 preamp I've always loved on my 2-channel system, running into a set of solid state mono amps at the speakers, running like 8-meter interconnect. I've always liked I've tried it. I've tried coming straight out the DAC going to my 2-channel. And I don't like it as much as the tube sound of my preamp. You know, and it's not to say that I might be able to find a DAC that I could come straight out that works well with it, but I don't think so. I think the preamp and for some reason there's some synergy with gear too, right?
Well, yeah.
So
I know at least for me, I like a nice analog volume control. Usually they're digital on DACs, and that sometimes can be scary. Like if you want to turn stuff down really quick.
yeah,
or
really.
something.
Yeah.
A lot of them can be remotes too.
Yeah, I like a nice analog. Well, if you're sitting like at a desk, a nice analog volume control.
Me too. The motorized ones, my one preamp had a motorized volume control, and it's kind of noisy. But it only makes noise when you're adjusting
Changing
the
the
volume.
volume,
So it stops.
Yeah.
But the motor noise tends to get at you a little bit. Either you hear it coming out of the piece, or
It does have an advantage. Then you know it's working though.
you know it's working. Yeah,
It's like-
and it's slow enough.
It's
where
slow, yeah.
It's not going to all go to hell all of a sudden
Yeah,
real
it's
fast.
Yeah.
You know, but most I think remote volume controls are pretty. They don't go up too fast,
Yeah.
but they could.
Well, a thing I've seen in a few circles is, what difference does a preamp make? Why do you even need a good preamp? Why can't you just get the $59 one? Because I've seen plenty of people that it's just a volume knob. So the conclusion they come to is it's just a potentiometer or whatever. It's just reducing the signal going to the amplifier. Why would it matter which one I get? Couldn't I just get the cheapest one I could find, or a really inexpensive one, and it would perform just the same?
yeah,
And this is a little trickier than you might initially imagine, especially on a headphone system. Not only do you typically have some issues with the low-end preamps, a lot of times they don't have that many inputs, they don't have that great of a volume knob, so you get channel imbalances, or you're more likely to have channel imbalances. But if they introduce a sonic character, which you're almost guaranteed they're going to, more often than not, on a headphone system, you're going to really notice these things. All these things are massively magnified. Whereas on a two-channel system, you have a bit more lee room there, a bit more leeway.
you have a room.
Yeah,
The speakers, the
there's other
crossover.
things added in.
There's other things that
Distance.
factor in. Yeah,
It's just distance.
right. The room acts like a buffer. And actually,
Especially on a high-end two-channel or high-end headphone system.
yeah,
These things are just really, really important.
yeah. Most of our customers that are running top shelf gear, if they can come right out the DAC and the DAC has a powerful enough amp, and then they'll do that, which some do. The Bartok's really good at the internal amplifier is really good with that, and you could get away with that easily and never need another box. But yeah, if you're running multiple inputs like I know I am, it's right now I'm just I tend to switch cables. I'll go into the back of the W83 or into the back of the 11 Audio Formula S. And what I've been trying to do is, what I try to look for nowadays is my source, like the DAC or the phono stage. I'm looking for both XLR and RCA outs. That way I could run both of them to two separate pieces.
Yeah.
So I'm running let's say I'll run the XLR to the W833 and I'll run the RCA outs to the Formula S, or use one of them for my two-channel system. One of them going into the preamp of my two-channel system, and the other one to go to one of the amplifiers. And that's helpful if my source has multiple outs. I can kind of split it up where it goes, So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But you need more cables for that.
Yeah.
It gets expensive. You have to purchase high-end cables, but which then again maybe you should look at a preamp and go, well, if I'm running 3 or 4 sources, I'm probably better off and to be able to switch between them from your chair without having to play around.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, remotes and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing you still got to try is the XLR out as a preamp of your WA33.
Yeah, right. In fact, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
I have to bring some long balanced cables.
Long cables, because then
Yeah.
you could run it. Yeah, 2 different things.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I run my the Manhattan 2 now. Since it's got RCA and XLR out, it's convenient. So I
Right.
run XLR to the headphone amp, and then RCA to my speakers.
Yeah, right.
So
Yes, you could use it either way.
and then I just push the volume knob to switch between them.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah, because the
convenient.
first phono stage I tried only had RCA outs, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't do anything with this thing. I can only go to one place with it.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize it till you remove a source, and you're like, damn, I need more than one output.
versatility.
You can get Y adapters and Y
Yeah,
off
yeah,
of them,
yeah.
but that's sloppy.
Yeah.
It tends to be a sloppy way to do it. So anyway, the question of whether you need a preamp or not really depends on if you need that buffer stage. It really depends on the system, and
Well, yeah.
it really does, and your usage case, yeah.
If you can get away without it, it seems to be preferred. It's pretty hard to add something to the chain that enhances the sound. So more often than not, on a really high-end, high-performance headphone system, you want to minimize what you put in your chain if you can get away with it. And the few times I've heard the low-end preamps, the inexpensive ones, they really did way more than I would have thought to the sound. They really impacted the quality a considerable margin.
Yeah,
So I would shy away from those if you can.
yeah. And even more expensive ones can add flavor,
For sure.
bloom,
Yeah.
bottom end. You know, in 2-channel, what I've seen too, I should probably add this, because it might impact some headphone amplifiers. You tend to get better bass performance with a preamp in a 2-channel. It's the way like a typical DAC drives, again, long run interconnects going into an amplifier. And some amplifiers, for whatever reason, just prefer to have more drive level to them, more headroom, so to speak. I think nowadays, though, most of the DACs do a pretty good job with that. Like, you know, they've considered they're going to be the only source. You know, they're lowering their output impedance. They're able to drive to. But you got to look at that. You do have to look at the specs. Like a good preamp will damn near drive a speaker with its outputs.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Some do, yeah.
Yeah, it could be under 10 ohm output impedance or even 1 ohm on a preamp, where the typical DAC's probably over 100 ohms output impedance, which, again, could be a problem depending on the cables and the input impedance of the amp. So sometimes preamps are helpful. They act as a buffer in between, particularly in 2-channel. I've found that it does tend to add a dynamic ability to the system, you know, relative to using like a DAC or so on. But again, it's a case-by-case basis. You
Right.
got to look at the specs and you know what the pieces are capable of doing. And really, the only way to tell is to friggin' try it. You got to put it in there and just see if it works for you or not. Unfortunately, that's the bottom line, because nothing's going to tell you what it sounds like. There's no spec that's going to tell you what it really sounds like, right? You can't measure the sound of a preamp. You really can't. You know, not when you throw it into a high-res system. So,
Well, I guess there's one more thing. You can get a integrated amp, and there you go. Built-in preamp in your amp.
Yeah.
There you go. Simplified, it's compact.
some of the integrateds are out there and are
Yeah,
really
you
nice
get some nice ones now.
for speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice. They're not cheap,
Yeah.
but yeah, and that avoids needing the cables and
Yeah,
stuff like that, and you only need one power
One,
cord.
yeah, one box.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people are going that route.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, you could do it with headphones a lot easier, though.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. You get like because you don't need that much power. You get a relatively, you know.
I think a
low
lot of
power
people are going that way
integrated.
too. Yeah, with a you know an integrated.
Yeah.
I was at our local dealer here, Speaker Shop here in Buffalo, right, last week, and they had one of their setups. They had a rack full of, I think they were all Luxmans, Luxman integrateds from the lowest cost on up, like 5 different integrateds.
Mhm.
And they're nice pieces. The upper end Luxmans have like the nice big VU meters
Yeah.
on them, old school style, you know. Nice looking case, and they sound really good. I was listening to them on a pair of Wilsons they had in there. And great sounding integrated.
Mhm.
You know, it makes you almost want to go that way.
Mhm.
If you can, the only issue there is, you know, you kind of got to have it close to the speakers type thing. Like in my case, I got the amps near the speakers,
Yeah.
and I run everything on a rack
Yeah,
off
run
to the side of the
20-foot
room.
speaker cables or something.
Yeah, running long speaker cables ain't really a good idea. It's, but hey, you know what? The thing is that if space is a concern,
Yeah.
it's not that big of a compromise, and those pieces are nice. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the integrated, because
Mhm.
I think because they're in the store and because they're all on display and they're showing the levels, and they're showing people what happens when you move up to the $4, the $6, the $7 grand price point of these
Yeah.
things, what the sound difference is, and it's significant when you get into the higher end. Significant. I mean, all the details are attention to detail is crazy on the more expensive stuff. And but anyway, yeah, it was pretty cool to see that, and it must be selling that way if they have it on display in the store.
You would think.
That's where people are going. They're going simple. I don't blame them.
Yeah, it is nice.
Yeah.
If you can do it and it sounds good.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that pretty much wraps up the whole preamp concept.
I think so.
Yeah. If you got any questions, you can always
Leave them in the comments.
leave it in the comments. So
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for watching. We appreciate you. Give us a thumbs up, and take care.